Okay, now I'm ready to assemble the chainring onto the crankset. So it goes on in this orientation here. You can always tell this little divot here lines up with the crank arm, and it's supposed to say Dynasis over there. We got these instructions here to kind of show you. So these little nuts have to go on in a certain place. So they're marked as A, B, C, and D. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. So those have to go on in a very specific orientation because they're a little bit different shape for each one. And then, so you put the chainring on like that. So these nuts will go on top. And here, so like this one, it goes here. This one goes here. This one goes here. And this one goes here. So they're slightly different shapes. So those are going to go on there like that. And then you flip it over. And then we're going to put our nuts in from the bottom. And here are our nuts right here. So these go in and screw in from that side. I'm going to use some handy dandy blue a thread locker on those nuts, and I'm going to use a little bit of grease around the outside of the chainring so that it won't get any creaking. So I'll go ahead and start assembling that. Okay, now I got the chainring attached, and I have the different caps so that this is A and then B and then C and D caps as described in this diagram here. I'm putting on a 32 tooth chainring right here. So, and then I have the nuts in from the back, which I put a little bit of thread locker on the screws themselves, and then I greased around the edges of where the chainring is connected to the crank arm, so it all slides together. So you're supposed to use a T25 hex here, a Torx 25, and then I'm going to use a torque wrench right here to torque those down. And those are supposed to be, according to the tightening torque here, 8 to 10 Newton meters. So let's go up to there, and we're going to put our torque wrench on there. It's going to go around the corner here. Okay, so it's all torqued down. So now I got my chainring attached to my crank arm, and I'm ready to put this all together in my bottom bracket. Okay, now I've got my chainring all assembled here. Now I'm going to put this in my bottom bracket. I already have some grease liberally applied to the crank arm here, and I'm just going to slide that through and then put my other arm on the other side. Slide that in there. That might take a little bit of persuading. Just using my dead blow hammer to get that in there all the way. And then I'm going to grab my crank arm, and this is going to go in on the other side, obviously like that. And I'm just going to give it a couple more punches, and then I'll show you how I'll put the cap on the other side and pull it on all the way. Okay, now that I got that on there all the way, I'm going to put the little cap in here, which helps screw down the non-drive side arm. I'm going to use my little tool here to crank that down all the way, get that on there nice and snug. Then, now that I got that all nice on there nice and snug, I'm going to flip down my little cap here. And I'm just going to use something, let's see if we're going to use the pop that on with. I'm just going to pop that on there. That pops in there like that, and then I'm going to tighten my bolts here. Okay, the last thing we do is to tighten these bolts down to 15 Newton meters, and I'll just go back and forth from one side to the other just to get them tight. So I'm going to crank up my torque wrench here up to 15. Let's see, there's 16, so 15 is right there. And we're just going to tighten that up. It actually says 12 to 14 on here, but I haven't looked in the manual. It said 10 to 15. It's nice that it says right here on the crank arm, it says make sure you torque them. So it says 12 to 14 newton meters right there. So we're going to crank that. Okay. That's it. So our crank arm is attached.